mosquitoes undergo complete metamorphosis. They grow through four distinct stages of development during a lifetime. The four stages are egg, pupa, larva, and adult. The full life cycle of a mosquito takes about a month. Eggs. After drinking blood, adult females lay a raft of 40 to 400 tiny white eggs in standing water or very slow moving water. Mosquito life cycle. Larvae. Within a week, the eggs hatch into larvae, sometimes called wrigglers, that breathe air through tubes which they poke above the surface of a water. Larvae eat bits of floating organic matter and each other. Larvae molt four times as they grow. After the fourth molt, they are called pupae. Adult. An adult emerges from a pupa when the skin splits after a few days. The adult lives for only a few weeks. Metamorphosis in butterflies. Metamorphosis in frogs.
The frog life cycle states. The life cycle of a frog consists of the three stages: egg, larva, and adult. As the frog grows, it moves through these stages in a process known as metamorphosis. Egg. A frog's life begins as a tiny egg, one among thousand. A vase of frog egg is called frog spawn. Tadpoles. When the eggs hatch, the embryo attaches to a weed in the water. There a frog embryo grows until it breaks free and enters the water. At this point, it has become a tadpole. Tadpoles are feed using gills rather than lungs. Tadpole with length. The tadpole begins to grow hind leg and lunge. The gills start to diminish. Froglet. The tadpole keeps on developing. It looks like a miniature frog, but it still has a tail. Young frog. The tail shrinks and then finally disappears. Now the young frog ventures onto the land in cirques. Adult frog. When the frog has reached its full size, it has become an adult frog. It starts to search for a mate in order to produce a new set of eggs and restart the frog life cycle. Stage of the flower life cycle. The plant life cycle starts when a seed falls on the ground. There are many different kinds of the plant life, but the flowering plants or adeniforms are the most advanced and widespread due to their amazing ability to attract pollinators and spread seeds. Flowers are more the beautiful objects to look at or decorate with. They serve a very important purpose in the reproduction of plants. The major stages of the flower life cycle are the seed germination, growth, reproduction, pollination, and seed spreading stage.
Flower life cycle. First is seed stage. The plant life cycle starts with a seed, and every seed holds a miniature plant called embryo. There are two types of flowering plant seeds: dicots and monocots. An example of dicot is a bean seed. It has two parts called cotyledons in addition to the embryo. The cotyledons store food for the plant. Cotyledons are also the first leaves that plant as they emerge from the ground during germination. Monocots have only one cotyledons. The corn seed is an example of the both kinds have the beginning of a root system as well. The outside of the seed is called the seed coat and it protects the embryo. Some seeds are capable of growing even after many years if they are kept cool and dry. Second is growth. Sorry for that wrong spelling. Growth. In order to complete the flower life cycle stage of growth, plants have to produce their own food. This process is called photosynthesis. As soon as the leaves emerge, they start the process of photosynthesis. Plants contain a chloroplast in the leaves which convert the energy from sunlight and carbon dioxide and water into sugars, which they use as food. The plant into sugars in the roots and stem. The roots and stem continues to develop, maturing the plant into the ground and growing root hairs which help the plant to better absorb water and nutrients. The stem grows longer towards the sun and transports water and food between the roots and leaves. Sugars and starches are changed into energy used to make a new plant grow. New leaves from the top of the stem or meristem. After a while, flower bud develop. Sorghum plants flower within days, while it takes other months or 7 days. Germination. When seed falls on the ground, it needs warmth and water in order to germinate. Some seeds allows need light. Thick coats have seed coats that soften with moisture. After being planted in the soil for a few days, the seed absorbs water and swells until the seed coat splits. Monocots have harder seed coats that do not split, but they stay in one piece. The stem called germination or sprouting, the tiny roots pushes down and grows looking for water and nutrients. Soon the cotyledons fall off and the first true leaves emerge. It is important that the seed is planted in the right place at the right time in order for it to germinate. Some seeds need to go through a fire in order to sprout, just as prairie grasses. Some seeds need to go through the fire in order to sprout. So, such as prairie grasses, some need to go through the stomachs of animals or be scraped. Different seeds to have different needs. So last is reproduction. Inside the bud, a tiny complete flower forms. The sepals protect the bud before it opens. Over time, the buds often blossoms into a mature flowers, and the sepals look like a little green leaves at the base of the flower. The flowers is sexually reproductive part of the plant. The petals of the plant.
Pollination. Some flowers have only male parts, and some have only female parts. In others, the male and female structure are far apart. These plants depend on insect, birds, animals, wine, water, or other pollinators to carry pollen from the male flowers or male parts to the female flower or female parts. Without pollinators, there would be no seeds or new plants in this plant species. Even flowers that can self-pollinate benefit from being fertilized by pollen from different plants, which is called cross-pollination because cross-pollination results stronger plants, brightly colored petals, strong smell, nectar, and pollen attract pollinators. Flower and especially adapted to attract their specific pollinators. For example, the corpse flowers smell like rotting place. In order to attract flies, pollen stick to the legs and wings or insect that go from flower to flower for nectar and pollen, which they use as a food. Pollen stick to the fur of animals and even to the clothes of humans. Wine blows pollen which lands on other flower. Is- Spreading seeds. Seed spreading or dispersal is the final stage of the flower life cycle. Seeds are spread in many ways. Some, like dandelion seeds, are scattered by the wind. Others rely on animals. An example of this is the clackerblurs that get stuck in fur of animals and hits like to the new location. Water lilies depends on water to spread their seeds. Humans spread many seeds intentionally by planting gardens once the seed fall to the ground. The plant life cycle starts all over again.